I find inspiration from women who are showing up every day and who have gone through divorce, who have gone through cancer, who have parented teenage girls, or whatever it is. So like women in general inspire me. And I think when we lift each other up, man, we are unstoppable. So this book is self-published. It's called Selection Process, How to Avoid a Loser Relationship. Yeah. So here's the thing. I've been married 3 times. I do some things well in life. Marriage historically has not been one of them. And what I've come to find out is that I chose partners that I had no business choosing. A lot of that was wrapped up into what I thought I was supposed to do. But what I do fully believe is that people's efforts can vary. And my effort on most days is like, let's go. Like, I want to put in I want to have all my effort there. And maybe it's because I'm supposed to die. Who knows the why behind it? I always care, but I care a little less because I care less what people think and more about what I think, which is not selfish, but I used to sort of think that it was. And now I'm like, no, people say after you turn 50 that like you have this I don't care attitude. I'm like, oh, I'll always care. No, I care a lot less. But it's interesting because I care a lot less about what is coming my way, and I care even more about leaving this place better than I found it.
I've got Beth Fisher here with me today, a consultant, speaker, and author. And we're talking about reinvention, building a consulting business, and her new book, Selection Process. So let's jump in. Welcome, Beth.
Hi, Judy. I'm happy to be here.
Yeah, so glad to be talking to you today. So start us here. What do you do today, and what happened in your life or career that pushed you into consulting?
Yeah, I love it. It's such a big question, right? What do I do today? It's like, I have to remember because my hands are always in so many different pots at once, which is, I think, the mindset of most entrepreneurs, right? I don't like to be told what to do, so I just like to do things all the time. The first part of my career, for the first 25 years, I was in corporate sales, and I would automate business processes for organizations, industry agnostic, all around the country. And I loved it. I love people and I love business process. I love to figure things out. And I did that for a long, long time. And then I moved into nonprofit because all along the way in those 2.5 decades, I love to volunteer and I have a big heart for the marginalized communities and injustices. I'm a big 8 on the Enneagram. So like if anything is sort of like not the way it's supposed to be, I'd like to jump in and fix that too when I can. And I've always volunteered in those circles. And so in 2020, I switched careers and went into the nonprofit space and loved that. I was there for 3.5 years. Then I moved into sort of a marketing role and consultancy. And then now, today, I am doing leadership facilitation as well as actually helping organizations with their L&D. So that can look, the way we deliver it is through training and also through SaaS software. So it's, folks internally so that their culture can actually maintain the L&D that is learned through the training. And so for me, all those through lines, it's always been consulting, right? I've always been consulting with people, for people, on behalf of people, because I like to go in and say, how can you get better? Do you want to get better? What does that look like? What does growth and transformation look like? And how can I help be a part of that journey?
That's fantastic. Yeah. And I was in sales for many years in my earlier part of the career. So I understand that is that consulting mindset, because that's exactly what sales is consulting.
Yeah.
So cool background. Actually, you sound very familiar to me in terms of personality of just wanting to fix things, make it better. So if you could describe your entrepreneurial journey to date, like give me 3 words that would describe it.
Yeah. Maybe a little unintentional. That's because everything I just described was I was working a W-2 job in those arenas and still do for the leaders, for the L&D work that I do. But I started my own LLC, and that was in 2018, maybe. And again, unintentional, because I really wanted to coach women in the workplace and I wanted to consult with them and do personal and professional development. So I was certified in that, and I ran everything through on the side through an LLC. And now that's where, when I do public speaking and book sales and so forth, it goes through there. But when I left the nonprofit space, I loved helping nonprofits so much that now I also have another one of my former employees who lives in Colorado Springs, he and I actually do implementations of CRMs for nonprofits around the country. So it's called Fisher Strategic, and that is my actual LLC that I run everything I just mentioned through there. So unintentional, and yet with intentionality, I guess unintentionally started it. Today, it is sort of morphed into very intentional in terms of how much work we take on, because I don't, it's not a quantity thing for me. It's my heart wants to help nonprofits. I want to speak. I want to show up. I want to empower people, particularly women in the workplace. So I wrote that book, Selection Process. But in general, it's unintentional to intentional. And the other thing I would say is freedom. That's what that feels like to me. Entrepreneurship is all about flexibility and freedom, as we know.
So if you had to put your best guess on it, I know that you're saying that you focus on women and that you really enjoy helping them become better leaders. If you had to put a number on, how many women do you think you have inspired or touched to date based on all of your work that you have done?
It feels self-serving to answer that question. Here's what I will say is throughout my sales career, and I was, my early 20s when I started it, I had female clients, customers, friends, turned friends who would say things to me like, "You are so inspiring. Can you teach me how to run a marathon? You're so inspiring. I can't believe you beat cancer. You're so inspiring. I can't believe that this happened." And it was hard for me to receive. So that question is still hard for me today at 52 to answer because I don't see myself necessarily as being inspirational. I'm just somebody who never quits, and I refuse to give up. I mean, you see me on the pickleball court. I'm like, I'm going to win this point. So I'm highly competitive. I mean, I'm just highly competitive, and I just always want to win personally, but I always want the best for others as well. So a lot is the answer, again, unintentionally, without knowing it. And so now when women will say to me, "Can you help me?" my answer is always yes. I don't hesitate at all. So I think that if you ask a number of female friends or people who know me, they would say, yes, she's helped me in one capacity or another. But again, it's bidirectional. I receive a lot of help from women. I find inspiration from women who are showing up every day and who have gone through divorce, who have gone through cancer, who have parented teenage girls, or whatever it is. So like women in general inspire me. And I think when we lift each other up, man, we are unstoppable.
Oh, 100%. I absolutely agree with everything that you have just said. And I love the fact it kind of goes back to your journey. It's unintentional. You're an unintentional leader. You're unintentionally inspiring. It just is who you are. It sounds like it's part of your DNA, and you've been blessed with that. So we talked a little bit about the new book, Selection Process. Describe that a little bit for me and tell me about it.
Well, it's my second book. The first one, I've always loved words. I've always loved to speak. I've always loved to write. And so for many, many years, I put it off. It's, writing is a very personal endeavor, and I'm highly extroverted. So it requires some solace and solitude to write a book, which I don't often always enjoy. And so I wrote my first one in 2020. It was literally released March 6th, 2020. And I thought, sure, the one thing in the world that I've always wanted to do, the world shuts down. So but I enjoyed going through the process then, and that was a book that was published through a Christian publisher, and talked a little bit about the journey of I wasn't supposed to live when I was 25. I was diagnosed with leukemia. I grew up Catholic, so my theological ears heard, "Oh, well, this is punishment for divorce." And I since went back to school and learned the things that I missed in the Catholic Church. So I love speaking to women in prison ministries or in, again, marginalized communities who haven't heard the story of their value and their worth and the way that they're loved unconditionally. So that's why I wrote that book in 2020. That book is called Remorseless.
Okay.
Learning to lose labels, expectations, and assumptions without losing yourself.
And that can be found on Amazon?
Correct. Yeah, it's on Amazon. It's also on my website, which is bethfisher.com. Yeah, but it's been out there since 2020. And that was really important.
Sounds interesting.
Yeah, I also
it's not. Yeah, this sounds super interesting. I hadn't heard that part of your story yet, so now it's like, very intriguing. So yeah, I'll definitely have to check that out. Remorseless.
Thank you. Yeah, it's about remorseless means the word without guilt in spite of wrongdoing. That's why I named that book, because I for many years lived with a sense of inner turmoil because I felt guilty that I wasn't following the rules. I don't like to follow rules, right? Hence entrepreneurship. So that was the rub for me because the Catholic Church was always like, thou shall and thou shall not. I'm like, I am screwing this thing up left and right. I am not winning this game, and I like to win games. So it was a whole journey for me to kind of work through that and self-acceptance. And I think that so many of us, I mean, there's so many universal truths, right? Like we all have that same inner void. And until you kind of figure out along the course of your own journey what truly fills it. And I'm of the opinion only one thing can fill that. So all that to say, yes, Remorseless is about that. But this book's very different, Judy. So this book is self-published. It's called Selection Process: How to Avoid a Loser Relationship.
Okay.
Yeah, so here's the thing. I've been married 3 times. I do some things well in life. Marriage historically has not been one of them. And what I've come to find out is that I chose partners that I had no business choosing. A lot of that was wrapped up into what I thought I was supposed to do. You're supposed to go, I grew up in the 80s. So you're supposed to go to college. And the second you graduate from college, then you get married. And I'm like, but I wanted to go to law school. I wanted to go be on the Supreme Court. I wanted to change employment laws for women. I wanted to do some things, but I didn't know that was a possibility in circa 1995 or whatever it was. And so I got married.
Pre-internet era.
Right. And
I was having that conversation with my daughter the other day. I was like, we didn't have the internet back then. I didn't know what I didn't know. We didn't have easy access to information. But I love it. You're trying to save the world. And I apologize. I just interrupted you. So
no, it's just, I love this interaction because to your point, pre-internet, I literally turned down a basketball scholarship to follow my high school boyfriend to college because I thought where he was so far away from the place that I could go play ball. And it was 20 minutes, but I didn't know that. I couldn't Google it back in the day. I was like, oh no, I'm very relationship oriented, which is why I love sales. I love people. So I didn't have the tools as a young girl, young woman. And since I'm someone who never gives up, I just kept choosing. I'm like, well, okay, well, this one didn't work out, but I'm not going to quit. And it is a little, with enough time, everything is funny. And I also use humor to get through a lot of things. And in my defense, right, I got married very young out of college. When I was 24, he didn't want to be married anymore. So he had already moved my daughter. I have one daughter. She'll be 29 next month, which is terrible math. But he didn't, he moved us away when she was 6 months old. And so I had postpartum and didn't know it. I was 23 years old. I had a new baby, a new job, 7 hours away from family and friends. And then he rolled back to Ohio without us. And I thought, what do I do? That's when I was diagnosed with leukemia in the middle of all that.
Oh, goodness.
So I was by myself. I'm raising my 18-month-old daughter. And I thought, wow, now what do I do? Because doctors said you're not going to live. I got married remarried, second time, a month before I went in for my bone marrow transplant. Okay, so as one might imagine, I was not thinking super clearly about being married because when he basically told me we're getting married, it wasn't really a question. It was, we're getting married. I thought, oh, okay. And I remember specifically, I'm like, this is probably not going to be long term. I'm not going to live. So are you sure? What do we do? So anyway, surprise, I lived.
Surprise.
Yeah. And then I'm like, oh, shit, we're married. Okay, we're married. Got it. Wait, what is your name? No, I knew his name, but I was like, what did you? Well, yeah, but I had to learn about, we had no business being married. Good person, wrong person for me. And had I had a longer selection process, had I had a longer process of selecting the right person, I would have most certainly come to that conclusion on my own. But it was a compressed timeline, and I didn't think about it. So we were married for almost 13 years because my, again, guilty sort of achiever, I'm not going to lose, fail self said, well, I signed up for this. I'm in. Well, then he left me. Because surprise, again, double surprise, this is the real me. I wasn't the dying damsel in distress 13 years later. I was running marathons and I was me. I was back to feeling normal. And he didn't like that. And again, it wasn't wrong of him because had he had time in a selection process, he wouldn't have chosen me either, probably. So it's it just wasn't the right fit. So I was 37, maybe when that happened. And then I was like, I'm done. Okay, marriage is not in the cards for me. I'm 0 for 2. what am I, Liz Taylor, J-Lo? Like, I gotta like whittle the list down, right? And I was over and out. And I was like, okay, this is fine. Because I am fine on my own, and my daughter was maybe 16 at the time. And I was raising money for the Leukemia and Lymphoma Society. I raised her in Fort Wayne, Indiana. So I was raising money for that endeavor, very important cause. And that's when I met my last husband, who lived in Grand Rapids, which is where I am now. And the right way to say this, most of this is in the book. And I, in the prologue, said, for legality reasons, hypothetically, let's just pretend these things happened, right? So the short version of that is that we were together for 10 years, and I found out a couple of years ago that he had been lying for the entire decade we were together and living a lot of secrecies, and I just thought, I got duped. That's what happened. So...
Wait, looking back, did you see any red flags?
Yes.
Like, okay.
Yes, and I ignored them. Because I am somebody who is wired such that, one, I don't expect perfection. People who know me kind of think that I just always want the best. Like, I want to achieve. I want all the straight A's. I want to be a 5-0 pickleball player. I want to go to Boston when I run the marathons. Like, that's just how I'm wired. I'm sick of apologizing for it. It's like, people go, well, do you always have to win? I'm like, winning is fun. Yes, I do. Sure. Like, if you're going to ask me, and who would say, do you want to win or lose? And people go, oh, I prefer to lose. None of us would. Like, I always had that mindset. But again, the thing is, I want everybody to win. Like, come at me. You know what? Like, let's lift each other up. Let's have our best games. Let's do the best we can do. Let's root each other. Like, I don't want to tear people down that process. I just want to keep going. So yes, I saw the red flags, but because I am wired like I just described, I thought to myself, he can do better. That he doesn't mean this, right? Like, this was a little bit of a misstep on his part, but it's okay. We all misstep. And like, you have a bad day on the court. I'll play better tomorrow. Oh, you lied to me once. You won't lie to me tomorrow. Whatever. Like, wrong. And I dated and married potential rather than reality.
That's a good one. Potential rather than reality.
Yeah.
Oof.
And that's I think a lot of women do that. I do. And so throughout selection process, I have, I think on the copy, it says self-help, part stand-up. Kind of always wanted to be a stand-up comedian. And I have a lot of material from which to work.
To draw on.
Yeah.
By golly.
And you can't make it up, right? And so reality is always funnier than fiction, and with enough time. But it's just that. It's life lessons learned along the way. How do you decide? It's such a big decision. It is, I argue, probably one of the most important decisions any of us will make in life is selecting the right partner. Because if you choose incorrectly, what do you do if you're a good human, a good person, and you've been taught that divorce is wrong, or you've been taught all the things, and you don't want to hurt kids or hurt people? I never want to hurt anybody, but I was hurting. We both were hurting, So it's like, okay, well, there's got to be a better way. And so for me, I really want to go upstream and help young women who are college age, who think, what do I do next? I don't even know what job I want. I know how to do schoolwork. Okay. I know how to read the curriculum and go, okay, well, here we go. I can do this coursework in 6 weeks. But what do I do after that? What's next and what's next and what's next? And we have so much internal pressure to decide and make such big decisions that I wanted to put together a roadmap so people could be like, okay, that makes sense. Sometimes just hearing it is useful. It's not that I didn't hear it or people didn't speak in my life. I probably disregarded most of it or thought I knew or really just made excuses for people because I thought, no, they're a good person. They don't mean to hurt me. Well, intentional or not, as we've talked about, if it's the wrong fit, we know ourselves better than anyone else. And I didn't stick up for myself. I didn't say no, because I have been told time and time again, you just think you're maybe better than somebody. And in the book, I remember a specific line, which is, there's no faster way to shut people up who look at you, don't really know you, but look at you from the outside, from afar. And they want to feel like everything is the same. So there's no faster way to make somebody else feel comfortable than selecting mediocrity. And And it sounds crappy, right? Because I don't want to say that I think people are mediocre. But what I do fully believe is that people's efforts can vary. And my effort on most days is like, let's go. Like, I want to put in I want to have all my effort there. And maybe it's because I'm supposed to die. Who knows the why behind it? But if those scales are tipped very differently, right? And if you've got somebody who always puts an honest day's effort in and somebody else who's just kicking it on the couch all day, doesn't make them wrong and you right, it means it makes you a bad match.
Right, right. Well, and you had mentioned that the second book, Selection Process, that we're talking about now, was self-published. Walk me through, anybody that's listening here that even has a remote idea of wanting to write a book someday, talk me through that process a little bit. What does self-publishing look like? How do you get started? What's involved with that?
Yeah, it's a good question. I had to learn, and I did learn the first time I went through it. I had no idea. I just knew how to throw out words and recant stories. So Selection Process actually releases on Valentine's Day because I thought, well, that makes sense.
Oh, perfect.
Yeah. And it's available for pre-order now on Amazon. So in my website. So those are things it's a good sort of segue into what do you do. First thing is just write the book, right? You write it because you can talk about all the details, and I don't really love details either. I love vision. So once you have a book in place, you need an editor, you need somebody to do the graphic design, so the cover work, the interior design. Books are very specific in terms of what the interior pages, the layouts need to look like.
Okay.
And so there are people out in the world, I know contacts and many other people do as well. And you just get yourself in touch with somebody who's done this and you say, here's kind of my vision for this. Can you help me? I had a wonderful, wonderful designer named Sienna, and she created the cover for me, each section and so forth. Like, she just designed the interior format of the book as well as the cover. So a designer, an editor, and then you say, okay, well, how am I going to take care of printing? What does that look like? I have found that, we all know when you go to buy books, it's you either walk into a bookstore or you go to Amazon. And you just have to be able to upload the print files to Amazon, to KDL, Amazon Kindle, whatever that stands for, Dragon Details. But there are just ways to do that. There's a final files that get uploaded to a local printer. Like, I used a local printer here in Grand Rapids, and those books are going to be in my hand in 3 weeks.
Oh, nice.
Yeah. And so it's just a matter of first writing it and then finding people who have done this before and they know all the ins and outs. And it becomes an easier process the more times you do it, just like anything in life, including marriage. Let's hope.
That's funny. So talk to me a little bit about your consulting side, particularly when it comes to women in leadership. What areas are you focusing on, or what are you seeing that organizations and companies are really lacking and that you're able to fill the hole with?
Yeah, thank you. It's a good question. So development work. I strategize with fundraising and in the nonprofit space, and I can help people. We implement primarily Virtuous is the CRM software. We, familiar with others as well. I use Salesforce for a long, long time. But in general, I think that organizations are lacking the time in nonprofits, right? They're not walking through the doors every day to be software engineers or workflow experts or, that's a necessary part of the job. But they walk through the doors every day to fulfill the mission that they care about. So that's what Fisher Strategic does. That's what we do on the side there. But what I do for my day job, for Become Unmistakable, is where I work, and that's where I facilitate training for leadership and development, and also, software that organizations can deploy. To me, that's truly what people are missing, because people who do a good job, who are individual contributors, as an example, who have been in sales, then they go to lead a team or they become managers. Nobody's really poured into them to say, here's what good leadership looks like. We can lead ourselves well, frequently, often, but now what do I do if I have a team of 18 people? So the middle manager levels within organizations, I think, are just extremely overlooked. So when you have folks that can show up and help facilitate leadership development in such a way that you can say, this is what this looks like. This is what the employee journey looks like. This is how to have crucial conversations, coaching conversations with your employees. I think that we need to teach people how to be good coaches, good leaders. And that's really what, I care about. And that's what I do. So I can fill
Yeah.
those gaps.
No, I think that's fantastic. And being in a management position myself and then having worked for several good and slightly not so good, I'll say bad managers.
Yeah.
Through experience, you see what works, what doesn't, what you admire, what you may not admire. But the word coach, you just use the word coach. I like to use it from the standpoint of a good manager is like a good coach. From the standpoint of if you have a bad coach and they're not playing you, they're playing you in the wrong position, they're demeaning, you eventually give up on that sport. You don't want to play it anymore. On the other hand, you have a good coach that's uplifting, puts you in the right position, and is constantly giving you accolades and then showing you even more tricks to upskill your athletic journey. That's the type of people. Yeah. So it's funny because a lot of what you're saying just resonates with me all the way down to the DNA level. Totally get it. 100% on board with what you're saying. And so what have been, if you kind of look back on your career and journey, what are some of the biggest lessons that you have learned to date?
I learned as I went. I have always been a little fiery. And so, not that I've tempered it, I've just learned how to read rooms better and know when to use my voice. But from a female perspective, always use your voice. And, we have been kind of in the workplace. It's changed. Thank goodness it's changed over the course of time. But early on in my career, I was to be sort of seen and not heard. I love telling the story. I was literally in a boardroom when I was 22, and I had driven down to Indianapolis, and I'm in like this ill-fitting suit and my panty poser. I'm like, I want to be in athletic gear and a ponytail and no makeup, but like I'm dressing the part, trying to figure out. I'm in sales. I don't know what I'm selling. I don't really know what I'm doing, but I'm listening because I love to learn. Like I want to understand to do a good job. I want to win. Like I want to be the best salesperson, right? So I'm in this room with people who have been doing this job. I am one of two women, maybe 12 people in that room. And I'm listening and I'm learning. And I asked a question because I wanted clarity and I wanted to make sure I was hearing it correctly. And I'm not embellishing for effect. A man leaned back in his conference room chair and said, it's a good thing you're pretty because you're not very smart. Oh, and I said, well, and I go, well, it's a good thing you're smart. I don't think he did. But my point is the comments like that, I was ill prepared for because I thought it's not nice. Why are you not being nice? I thought we were working together. That's not a nice thing to say to another human being. First of all, you don't even know me. Secondly, don't be a jerk. And also that's not helpful. But what I had to learn was that I thought I did something wrong. Like I left that day and I drove back 2 hours and I was upset. And mostly just upset because I thought, what did I do to deserve that kind of communication sent my way, which was very demeaning. And the answer is a big fat nothing. I didn't do anything. Right. So what I have learned is to not put up with that stuff, but to do it in such a way, parenthetically, P.S., he was gone 2 years later and I was there for 23 years. So, it's just to treat people with kindness. Like we are not each other's enemy. A scarcity mindset is a useless mindset. There's enough room for everybody to table. There's enough room for people on the team. There is enough room in the world to allow multiple viewpoints and multiple solutions so that when you do that and you truly help one another, that all comes back around. So I've seen, and I don't like labeling or stereotyping, but let me give you an example. I have seen people, I did it too, early in their careers who feel like they've got something to prove. And so they are often doing that at the expense of others, right? To raise themselves up. They think that there is, for me to be good, somebody else has to be bad. That's not true. That's the wrong equation. The fastest way anywhere is together. And I'm saying that as somebody who likes to be a lone ranger. So I had to really, really learn to lean on others and to listen to others well, and to just truly lead and be in relationship with people. It is all about relationships.
That's very interesting. And I have seen it also, I don't want to say largely in the younger generation, but people who, exactly like you said, they're trying to get ahead so bad, they're willing to step on and over people. And eventually hopefully, that they recognize and can grow out of that. But yeah, such a huge relationships. Very
Yeah.
well said, Beth. Yeah,
Thank
really
you.
good information and advice
Thank you.
all around.
Thank you.
So, where are you today? Talk to me about some of your most prized moments that you have had to date.
I'm grateful for the opportunities that I have every day to show up within organizations and help them develop good leaders, help them upskill managers. That's really everything that Become Unmistakable is about. It's to say, how can you become an unmistakable leader so that when people see you, they want to be led by you. They want to be in relationship with you. They feel good about the culture. They understand where they're working, right? The turnover is low. For me, we spend so much time in the workplace. I want people to love what they do. I want them to feel valued and a sense of belonging in the workplace, because how miserable is it when you go to a place for 40 or 50 hours a week and you're like, I hate this, because that then sort of seeps out into other areas of your life, and I just think our time here is so limited on this earth that
Yes.
it's like, let's make the most of it and let's be the people we were created to be. And truly, we were all created with love. So like, why are we leading from a place of jerk versus love? Like, to me, it's a choice. So I think just some of my most profound and meaningful moments lately is that recognition. I always care, but I care a little less because I care less what people think and more about what I think, which is not selfish, but I used to sort of think that it was. And now I'm like, no, people say after you turn 50 that like you have this I don't care attitude. I'm like, oh, I'll always care. No, I care a lot less. But it's interesting because I care a lot less about what is coming my way, and I care even more about leaving this place better than I found it.
You just took the words out of, like, I literally, goosebumps. That is me, 100%. Yeah, I blew the candles out at 50. Now, okay, how am I going to leave the world a better place?
Yeah, that's it.
At 40, I blew the candles out and I couldn't see. I lost my vision. And then at 50, I'm in the hence this podcast we spoke earlier. There's a lot of time and energy put into producing something like this. But for me, it's a passion project because, like you, I want to pass. I call it my baton of knowledge. I want to pass knowledge. I want to pass other people's lessons. And I think that you and I mean, I just mentioned it earlier, but truly, everything that you have talked about today, I could have spoken very similar words. Your passion, your desire to help people, lifting women up, everything about that is just, I resonate with everything that you have said. And that's exactly where I'm at in life, where I really want to inspire people, however that looks, and leave the world a better place. So yeah, I'm glad that you said that.
Yeah, thank you.
I got a little off track because I got a little passionate about that one. But as far as with Unimaginable, where you're talking about leadership and consulting, what do you see with the onset of more and more hybrid and remote work situations? How does that affect positively or negatively a company culture? Are you seeing that any way, shape, or form?
Yes. And I think we've all seen it for the last, 5 or 6 years now. But it's intentionality. We go back to that word. I don't mean to overuse it in this entire conversation, but it is a matter of intentionally being in a relationship. And it just looks different. Like, I'll give an example. My daughter, no surprise, is highly independent. And she lives on the east side of the state. And we will talk on the phone when our calendars allow. And when I'm given the green light that, I'm not being too mommy about things, like, Mom, zip it. Like, I don't need you, right? You, like, peace out. But on the phone when we talk, that's one thing. When we FaceTime, that feels like a step closer. It just feels like there's a level of annoyance that's removed, maybe, because we see each other. Like, she can see my mannerisms. I can see hers. Like, she can see me smirk. We know each other, right? Like, she's been my kid for 29 years. So it's like she knows what I'm saying. And things can get misconstrued when you can't see the person. Same thing with like texting or email. So for me, I really feel like it is so much more important to be across the table from somebody, in a room with somebody, in relationship with somebody. It's the same thing as a marriage. I mean, I've learned this too. Like, if you're not spending time with your person, then what are we doing here? because that relationship continues to go this way as opposed to bringing people together. Culture, organizational culture is the same as personal relationship, household culture, in that if that relationship is just sort of isolated and me focused, I'm going to do this. This is my checklist. But like, where's the hour? What is our team doing? What are we as a couple or as a partnership? What are we doing? Because if you don't have those communication tracks, like you end up just not aligning, and I think corporate culture needs that. I think any organization needs their people to be in relationship with each other so that people can feel a sense of belonging.
Yeah, right back to that word relationship. And I know there's a business mentor that I lean on quite a bit, and we use the word care as our core being the way that we treat people, the way that we take on work, the way that we play pickleball or any other sport, everything about it, like at the absolute nucleus is the word care. I loved our conversation today. I love the stories that you shared. I love the fact that you have such personal stories that could have ruined somebody, but it didn't. It made you better. And you are now sharing that in a funny tone and a very lighthearted to teach that life lesson. So at the very beginning, you said that you inspire people, but you didn't know it. You didn't really intentionally mean to. But I can say with absolute certainty, and I'm not being a goof, but you truly have inspired me today.
Thank you.
And I'm sure anybody that's listening out here, you have, again, touched many people. So 100% appreciate your time. I know you and I face off on the pickleball court here in a couple of months. March 17th, we'll be at the Irish Open in Grand Rapids, Michigan. And, I think we're going to have to put a recap out here to see who pulls ahead because we're both competitive. We both want to win. So don't be surprised if we slip a little video in of the winner on that one, Beth. But,
I love it.
But yeah, so we'll go head to head and see what happens. But before we check out with the group, I want to make sure everybody knows how to get in touch with you. So please share. Where do we find Beth Fisher?
Thank you for asking. The easiest way is on my website. It's bethfisher.com. There's no C. Fisher. I'm on LinkedIn, Facebook, but primarily everything that I have shared with your listeners today is on my website.
Excellent. So bethfisher.com. Go visit her and stay tuned as you find out who wins the pickleball match. We're going down, Beth. We're going down.
It'll be fun. Can't wait. Thank you, Judy.
Thank you. I appreciate your time. Thank you for tuning in to this week's Founders Hustle. I would absolutely love to know what resonated with you the most from today's guest. Go ahead and drop me a comment if you're watching this on YouTube. Also, if there's a future topic that you'd like me to touch on, go ahead and drop that in the comments as well. But no matter where you're watching or streaming your favorite shows, hit that subscribe button. Follow me on social media. Tell a friend about this. I would love the support. But in the meantime, keep living, keep growing, and keep hustling because you are meant to do great things. See you next week.